Ladies and gentlemen, how is the mic quality? It seems okay. Maybe this is a little bit better. Let me know, okay? Let me know if that's better. If it's not, we can change it. If it's terrible, but I'm having just computer problems after computer problems. But ladies and gentlemen, it's no time to complain because we are about to hit all-time high close on SoFi. If SoFi closes anywhere above 2580, I think it was 2578 was the highest ever close for SoFi. Intraday, it's been high, but during the actual close, we've never seen this high before. So let's zoom in. This will be a fun one to watch. And the stock is up once again 4.8% to $26.20. This is something we haven't seen before. Honestly, it's just unbelievable watching this today. And one of the highest stocks that is up today on my watch list. And the fact that that is happening at all-time highs is just incredible. We're getting the recognition that we deserve. And like what else can I say? What else can I say? The PE ratios, the forward PE ratios are now starting to look a little bit more in line with Robinhood as well, which is expensive, but maybe rightfully so due to the growth rates and the excitement from the markets on, how well the stock is going to do into the future. I think that the things that I'm starting to see around institutions picking up the stock, more indexes that will force other, mutual funds and other passive investors into SoFi stock. That is starting to happen. We're very eligible for the S&P 500 now at $31.4 billion market cap. It's not been long. I mean, this growth has come in just the last little bit. Even if you were to have purchased just last year, you'd be up 244%. And if we keep zooming out, that gets even better and better. But if we look at an all-time chart, we quickly spacked onto the market, IPOing through a different name, and then got up to about 2576, I think it was the highest close. So this is going to be a very exciting one. Very, very, very exciting. Oh, yeah. SoFi, I do think we'll get into the S&P 500. I think that's without question. It's just a matter of when. Clearly they're a bank, a technology company, growing customers very fast. And there's just a lot of things to point to say, okay, there is real growth that's end up happening on this company in terms of, top line growth, bottom line growth. Let me try to bring up this chart really quickly. Been on vacation for 2 weeks and missed this community. Add 2 shares of Joby to the port for me. Cheers. TM, absolutely I will. Thank you for the $29 donation. I think that's the most specific donation, but obviously it's based on SoFi share or Joby shares, so I will do that. It's hilarious. You know how many shares of SoFi this used to get me, and now it's only getting me 1 share. But I'll get 2 shares of Joby. Don't you worry. This time last year we were hoping to hold 7. I know, it's just incredible. It's just incredible. There's a lot of people who are making some serious money now for the first time because SoFi, they've hitched their ride to what people thought was a bad horse. But no, we have fresh horses now. We have a lot of people joining the 6-figure club, the 7-figure club. We have a couple people that have, multi-millions of dollars in SoFi stock that have invested from the $5-6 ranges that are just making life-changing levels of money from this stock. And it's funny how it works, right? Like this was a company that people were saying should fall down into $2.50, $4. We saw that criticism a lot. And now today alone, it's up $1.23. Today alone. You know, that's just incredible. $21 a share a month ago seemed extremely high to some, and now it's up another 23%. But guys, this is why I continue to try to talk about buying and holding for the long term, not allowing yourself to, uh, essentially get distracted by bears and um, even sometimes getting distracted by prices that are increasing. Obviously, you want to be careful, but there's a lot of things about recession or correction or all of these things that might get people worried, and so they take profits off the table for a short term, not because they need the money, but because they think that they can time the market. And maybe sometimes you can, but the truth is it's more like a gamble rather than anything. Um, but yeah. That is very, very exciting. I'm seeing Amit do meetups and these sort of things like in Miami. Maybe if SoFi hits $30, we'll do a meetup here in Toronto. Um, that I think would be fun. But we need something to look forward to. I was either thinking Nvidia to 200 or SoFi. I mean, to me, Nvidia is more important, but to the community, obviously, SoFi is a very big name. So I think that that's kind of fun. Now, in the same breath, I also think that there are some people in this community that are seeing this price and are saying some pretty irresponsible things. While I still think that the stock will go up, um, in no way would I advocate for people to take out debt or do anything along these lines to go out and buy shares because of increasing price targets based on, you know, the momentum that we see right now. Now, yeah, I just I see some people in the community that are bullish, and then whenever things are actually bullish, they get extremely bullish, and they just keep pushing and pushing on price targets and tell you to, get a second mortgage or put debt out to go and get as many SoFi shares as possible. I think that is terribly irresponsible, and I would be very careful listening to those people. So I took out the HELOC at 7. Very different story than getting close to 27. But yes, I still am excited. And I think that SoFi, like this climb is um I don't think it'll happen in a straight line, but I do think that we continue to climb higher. But just be careful on the road of how we get there. And the price target changes. Everyone's talking about, 4 or 5xing things, but then whenever they do actually accumulate in price, then people just go, oh, it's 4 or 5x even past that, when really we are getting very close to those targets that we've been hoping for some time. Now, if SoFi can accelerate those growths and improve their margins better than what Wall Street was expecting, for example, long-term EBITDA margins on SoFi was 30%. Now there's some analysts coming out and saying it's actually probably closer to 40%. Well, that's a big difference. Okay. And so they can actually improve their long term targets. Or if they think that there's going to be a certain level of growth rate that's like long term targeted, which before it was at 20%, now Anthony Noto says that they're going to do 25% for decades. Well, that once again is going to drastically change price targets. It's not a 5%. I know it sounds like a 5% difference, but on a compounding rate, 5% added to that is immensely high. I mean, you could see doubles higher over the course of years than you would before. But I just wouldn't get, uh, you know, greedy, thinking that because this is the hot name right now, that it's time to write very, like very risky calls and do these sort of things. Tanner, why were you late? My computer is just, dude. I don't know. I don't know. It's just awful. It's just awful. I need more computer help. Twitch mob. Yeah, what's up? Nvidia fading at close. Let's hope not. I'm doing freaking awesome in my portfolio right now. Let's try to keep it up. Oh, yeah, it is. Yes, it is. I was hoping for a 180 close. Let's see if we can at least close at 180. 179.93. Once again, Google. Are we about to close at an all-time high? It looks like we might. Right now, we are still above the all-time high. I think we're about to see an all-time high close for Google. That's very, very exciting. Super exciting there. Let's hope big tech can hold it through the earnings. Yeah, no, I can't stop complaining. My whole life revolves on this freaking thing. It's like almost like back pain to me. It's like if I feel that my computer is doing bad, it just affects my whole life. So yeah, I can return it. But yeah. Okay. Let's go back to SoFi though, because we have just a little bit 40 seconds into the close, ladies and gentlemen. I don't have a bell, but I've got a makeshift one. It's literally this water bottle. And we are about to party. Let's see. We have a long way to draw down to make sure, like, we are, 50 cents ahead of the last close. So I think we have it. It's looking hopeful. But wow, that is freaking exciting. Let's see. You're a happy man if that's your biggest struggle. Oh my gosh, I am. Guys, you don't understand. I mean, I live my dream job. I've got a very happy family, happy girlfriend. Oh, we closed. I am a happy man. We just had a record close on SoFi. Oh man, 40 seconds goes by quick, eh? Jeez. And we're still up in the after hours. That is the SoFi way. Unbelievable. SoFX is up 9.4%. Rocket Lab up 6.4%, but wow, went down into the close. Let's see. Did Google close above its all-time high close? I think that still is. Let's see. That might have been right where it still is an all-time close, but it was that higher than it was yesterday. Intraday, it was a high. That's for sure. We saw 211.09. That's insane. So congratulations to Google shareholders. Congratulations, especially to SoFi shareholders. You guys have stuck through a lot of crap, and it's just amazing what's happening with the rate cut. Excitement here. It's going to be very good. You've been 100% in SoFi since $6. Jeez. I mean, congratulations. there's not many better picks that you could have picked in the entire stock market that would have returned you as much. That's insane. What are your opinions on AMD and Palantir right now? Weirdly expensive. That's sort of my opinion. They're very different, right? AMD is second place in its sector, and I'm a huge holder of the first place player, Nvidia, which we actually do have some news there as well. The Nvidia Thor chips had just came out for physical AI. So both the Drive AGX platform is now on Blackwell, and for humanoid robotics, which is being picked up from Boston Dynamics, Amazon, Figure, Meta, I think even ended up being an early adopter of that as well. So that is also very exciting, getting great news from Nvidia, which ended up dropping into the close, but it did not stop the excitement from the new physical AI brain that ended up coming out, $3,500 per chip, and there will be a heckload of chips that are end up coming out. So those are directly onboarded chips that go into the cars, into the um, the systems of the humanoid robots or other specialized robotics that could still need to visualize, label, grab stuff, that sort of thing. Do you think Nvidia will beat or miss earnings? Beat. I think it's a beat. It'll be very exciting. I'll be doing a live stream for earnings with Amit most likely and Jose. So it'll be a big show up. I think last time we had like over 20,000 people watching. Like it was insane. Um. So yeah. SoFi is up after hours. Last time I checked, everything is relatively up in after hours for the most part. But yeah, SoFi going up to 26.22. Yeah, just insane. 26.38 is what we touched today, 52-week high. The intraday, the highest we've ever seen was 28.26, but that was for a very short period of time. It'll still be exciting to pass that, and we could pass that very soon if this momentum keeps up. But I don't know if it should necessarily rise that fast. We'll have to see. I mean, the optimism for this stock is quite exciting. And tomorrow, MSCI, which is the Morgan Stanley's index, well, at least one of their indexes, I forget what it is, ANCI or something like that, ANWI, is actually purchasing SoFi. Now, we're not expecting a large amount of inflows, probably about 20 or so million dollars, maybe even a little bit less, 19, 18 million dollars, something like that, for SoFi shares tomorrow from that index that they've picked up. But it's over the course of the next few weeks, the rebalancing from other indexes that are benchmarked or tied to MSCI indexes that will also be purchasing in. So SoFi is expecting a little bit more inflows from institutions, and most likely shorts will have to, capitulate, sell off. And by selling off a short, what you're actually doing is buying, because you're already, like the way a short actually works is that you go to someone, you borrow their shares, you sell them on the market, and then you buy them back at a lower price and then give them back to the person that you borrowed them from. And then you keep the profit of where you originally sold them at and then where you had to buy them back at. Because you're not owing them a dollar amount, you're owing them a share count amount. So if it goes down, you end up keeping profits. But if it ends up going up, you might be forced to rebuy your short position at a much higher price than where you sold it at, increasing the volume. Well, sorry, increasing the buy amount, and then printing a lot for the, you had to pay the premiums of borrowing the stock. You had to, buy back in, and then all the other shorts that are also continuing to hold has to face that penalty of you end up purchasing back in. So that's what a short squeeze kind of is that the shorts can kind of force, if one starts to capitulate, can actually force other shorts to close out on their positions, forcing essentially everyone out at the same time if the stock can stay high. So, yeah. So I did watch the new Compound and Friends episode with Tom Lee. I watched the whole thing, but I think I was like working out whenever I was doing it. People said that there were comments about SoFi in it. I didn't catch it at all. I heard that there is a new modernization in banking and that Ethereum is going to play a big role in that, and new modern tech names will play a role in that. But I didn't hear any specific shout out for SoFi. I could be wrong. I listened to the whole thing though. It was a good episode. Yeah, Tom Lee's a great speaker, and I think his call outs are unbelievable. Let's go, everyone. Honestly, it's sometimes it's hard whenever you know what you're holding to continuously buy in and respect the management team and the decisions that they're making and hold through all the criticism, especially as someone who publicizes. And I don't mean just me. There's a lot of people who end up saying their opinions online and have, you know, post that they're in 100% in SoFi, and then it's just ridiculed by bears. Doesn't matter who you are. It's hard, right? And to be vindicated in that purchase is just an exciting thing, and that can happen to many people. But I'm just hey, I'm happy it's happening to me for this specific name. So very, very exciting. George says, thanks, Tanner, for the streams. I usually watch them on replay over breakfast, but this time I'm watching live. Really appreciate your work. Greetings from Europe. Put this towards IREN. I absolutely will, George. We'll put that on IREN, and we need to now take a quick look at the community fund. So remember, from the donations that we just got today, we are adding a little bit to Joby, a little bit to IREN as well. I think IREN works, right? Yeah, 5 billion. Okay. But let's go ahead and take a look at the community fund really quickly. And I think it should be updated for today's move. If it's not, that's going to suck. But we are starting to recover on some of the losses that we had received earlier from SBET. And SBET's still down 8%. But we had a green day because SoFi makes up for such a large percentage of the fund. Unbelievable. I'm actually surprised. Like the whole day, for the most part, was... Oh, actually, maybe it wasn't. No, I mean, no, we actually ended up closing out red just right at the end. Oh, wow. I thought we had a green day today, but I'm too SoFi pilled. Was there any news that ended up coming out that made this sell off last minute? Did Trump say something? Let's see here. Strongman personal finance can beat up SoFi. That's funny. Yep. But he can't say that this is a scam company at 6. So, sucks to suck, I guess. I mean, hey, you miss out sometimes. Happens. MSCI inclusion does start tomorrow. That will probably be about a $20 million purchase. So, like, I wouldn't even expect a large increase in the price just based on that news. Okay. But you could expect a large bump over the next week just because other indexes are tied to MSCI. Like even at the institution that I was at previously, we would benchmark our stats versus MSCI. It happens constantly. Oftentimes, MSCI is looked at as like a total market benchmark. Now, it's a specific index that SoFi is going into, and I think there will be about a $20 million purchase just for, Morgan Stanley to get in there. They knew it was coming. Yeah, but they specifically said that they're like the rebalance happens on August 26th. So unless they front run their own announcement, their announcement was like 2 weeks ago or something. But in that press release, they say rebalancing happens August 26th. So I'm just taking their word for it. ETH had a big sell-off today. Man, I got to clean my glasses. Give me 1 second. Yeah, it's Fog City on these glasses right now. But to save you guys the trouble of seeing me without glasses on, which is not a good sight. Trust me, you're not missing anything. I'll just clean them really quick. Okay. Are we buying Circle if it falls to IPO price? I've never really been a super fan of Circle, nor can I expect that it's close to IPO price. Yeah, it's 125. I think IPO price was like $31 or something, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the close of the IPO was around 80, but that's not when it IPO'd at. It went up like 200 or so percent in that day. It was insane. Need to update picture with the stash. I know. I know. It's just that sort of thing. I just don't care about. Um, Crypto doesn't change my perspective on the market. Lol, silly thing to say. Well, I think to some degree it probably should. I think that crypto will help companies increase their earnings via improved margins and instant payments and stuff like this. In that regard, I do think that it will have a direct benefit to markets in general. Every company has payments, every single one. And if you can end up lowering the fees that those companies end up taking, for example, even if you look at PayPal, for example, charging, 3.5% for the PayPal button, but if you do crypto through PayPal, it's like 1%. Um, that's a massive benefit to the companies that end up choosing that. That's just a very small example, too. Once you're talking about like intercompany payments and potentially how larger institutions and feds like large big banks are transacting trillions of dollars, this thing like that will change many companies in the fees that they have to pay. Morgan Stanley hates SoFi. I don't think that's true. They do a lot of deals with SoFi, a lot. um Now, yeah, a single analyst could be different, but the way that they actually interact with the company, they do a lot of transactions together. Them, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan. It's funny, they actually do work together a lot. Did you go to Japan as well or just Tevis? I If Tevis is in Japan, then I that would be the first I knew about it. I didn't know he was even in Japan. But yeah. Um do you think a recession is around the corner? No. I actually just saw this report that the Mag 7 is now from the launch of ChatGPT. Let's see if I can bring this up. From the launch of ChatGPT till now, the Meg 7 names are up like 145% on their earnings. Like it's something insane. Like I do think technology will lead to real changes in earnings. And whenever that happens, employees can make more, business might accelerate. If we see large job sell-offs like people are expecting, then yes, that might hurt consumers. But we haven't really seen it. There's just been a lot of talk about it. But that talk happened during the dot-com bubble as well. That people said, the um, like computers and everything were going to just replace people's jobs, and it did change job titles for people. There will be processes that people can do uh, completely automated that would replace someone's job. But will new jobs open up, and will there be adequate training for new people that have potentially lost their job, or young people that are just getting into the job industry to potentially have a job that no one has had previously? I think that's true. Look at me, for example. Like, this is not a job that long ago. I have heard of ETHZilla, but I don't really know anything about it. Is it also a treasury? I have seen that name a couple times. Vibe coding is yeah. I mean, I think that would just go through. Tanner, I hit 20K today. Thanks for all that you do, guys. Kelson's a 17-year-old. He started watching when he was 16. He's got 20K to his name. Congratulations, brother. That's awesome. That's freaking awesome. You're gonna do great. ETHZilla is a treasury with Peter Thiel backing. Interesting, because uh, that's also going to line up well with his bets on BMNR. So I guess it's not the only one that he's playing. He's very positive on ETH then. Will the market follow Nvidia's earnings results? I'm most likely. They have the highest weighting of any company ever in history in the S&P 500. It's about 8%. So just crazy. Like, if they do have a smashing beat, the market is going to have a green day. Be hard not to. Even if there's like some macro news that's pulling down the market, it's still not going to be as red as what it would be if Nvidia has a good day. Because it's the highest weighting a single company has ever seen in the index in history. Thoughts on kava long term? Don't have any thoughts. I heard it's Mediterranean food. It's not here in Canada. I've never tried it. Haven't looked into it. Heard it's fast growing. Heard it's expensive. Last I remember, they had earnings last quarter that brought the stock down. No clue. But it's not that I won't look at it forever. I mean, it might be interesting going forward, but SoFi is still up in the after hours. 26.18, ladies and gentlemen. You just want to watch it? I mean, come on. That's fantastic. Any thoughts on Palantir? No thoughts on Palantir. Where are they today? Are we still down the 150s? 157? Yeah. What was the initial drop off this morning about? That's quite the dip in the morning. Yeah, I mean, they're expensive. They're going to have a lot of volatility. I don't think that that's a problem if you're really interested in the name overall. But I'm just personally not taking a stake in the business right now. Hood's awesome. Super fan of Hood and SoFi. Love them both. They are the future of fintech. Can't wait for Hood banking. I think that that's going to be huge. And then also, what do they have going on at the Hood Summit? By the way, I'm going to be there. So if you guys are going, let me know. I'd love to meet some of you guys at the Hood Summit. But it's not just a meeting for active investors. They're going to show off new product. That's going to be exciting. What are they like? Like last time they showed off at Hood Summit, we saw index options, we saw futures, we saw there was another big announcement. I remember it was sort of a big three. But overall, like that's incredible. It's incredible that you can push those products that are doing millions of dollars now in a single event. And what are we going to see this quarter around where they push it? Oh, and Legend, Robinhood Legend was the other one, which is also doing, I think we're over $100 million annualized on Robinhood Legend. So it's incredible. I think that once you, look at it that way, that's very exciting. Okay. Yeah, if SoFi ends up going to $30, I think that we do a Toronto meetup. It does look super fun, what they ended up doing. Or Amit ended up doing with his crew. So I want to do a similar thing for you guys, especially the people who live nearby. We'll have to hit 30 and then I'll do something there. I think it would be a great time to get the audience together. I know that the last time that I met with you guys, it was just a ton of fun. Okay, let's see what else. Trump on South Korea. He says that we think that we have a deal done. That's very exciting. SoFi will participate in the Goldman Sachs Communicopia and Technology Conference. Anthony Noto will be doing a fireside on September 8th. Make sure that we do that. I'll live stream that. That'll be very exciting. Yeah, that's just announced right now. SoFi to participate at Goldman Sachs Communicopia and Technology Conference. Love it. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be live. We will be live. September 8th. That's right before I leave for Vegas. So next week, no. The week after. 2 weeks. SoFi is trading like S&P 500 inclusion. I mean, maybe. Maybe. I think people are really pricing in a rate cut. I think that they believe that that's what's going to happen. And if it does, that has real effects on the stock. Let's not downplay that. You're at 84% chance of cutting just in September. By December, at end of year, there's a chance that we get 3 rate cuts at a 32.8% chance or 2 rate cuts at nearly 50% chance. Whenever you talk about any rate cuts by end of year, we have a 98% chance of that happening. What if S&P chooses SoFi over Hood? I mean, I don't know if they have to be one or they don't have to select one name. I think that what they should do is look at the 100+ businesses that are not even supposed to be in the S&P 500. It's crazy the amount of names in the S&P 500 that are not even eligible for the index. If we get a really big, inclusion, we could see 6 names included in the S&P 500. And if that happens, especially on the financial side, kick out some of the names that are tiny, regional banks or community banks that are in the S&P 500 that are just no longer growing, no longer eligible to be in the S&P 500. Kick them out and look for new, fast-growing banks. Why is the QQQs growing faster than the S&P 500? They're picking tech. It's tech top 100. Well, it's not tech top 100. It's the market top 100, which leans tech. But still, SoFi could definitely be there. Sleeper pick could be IBKR. Yeah, but why hasn't IBKR been selected already? This is the weird thing about AppLovin and IBKR. IBKR has been eligible for so long now. So long. And they have not been selected for years. So what's going on with that? Why don't they want the brokerages? Why haven't they selected Robinhood yet? Why has AppLovin been passed up on for so many quarters? The thing is that SoFi is not a replica of Robinhood and IBKR. They bring a different aspect. There might be aspects of SoFi that they think or that they see that could be more exciting than Robinhood. Maybe it's just a little bit more balanced than IBKR for them. Tanner, are you adding more SoFi? I've not added it here. I think my highest purchase was like $23.80 or something like that. It was around the $23 marks. Will SoFi MSCI inclusions start huge spike? The stock went up today like billions of dollars. Okay, it was like roughly $2 billion, a little bit less. Just on the day. Now, SMCI, in the index that they're putting us in, I think they're going to be buying less than $20 million worth of stock. It's the indexes that follow, which probably won't happen tomorrow. But it could definitely add a base to the name. And it definitely doesn't hurt either. Knowing that a company gets added to an index and like, it's like being purchased by Warren Buffett, not by Cathie Wood. The difference is that someone's going to be there long term. And in an index, if the companies continue to execute, which is what I believe wholeheartedly from SoFi, is that they just will stay in those indexes and only grow in the weighting if they're growing faster than those other names. And if you look at SoFi's growth rates, we will. Look at the speed in which we've accelerated from, you know, in bank assets, total consolidated asset rankings for large banks, large commercial banks. SoFi has climbed that list. It doesn't mean that SoFi is growing, but they're growing faster than those other banks that are also trying to grow. So that's how you know that we're taking market share as well. And that's just in one area. We are actually taking market share in every single category: student loans, home loans, personal loans, invest money, all of them. We're taking market share in. That's not my opinion. That's SoFi's management's opinion. But SoFi would be the 291st largest S&P company. Interesting. But the great thing about being added to those indexes is that if SoFi continues to improve and their market cap also improves, that they increase their weighting. They keep buying more and more. So it just adds these little compounders, not just to the company, but to the stock. Now, SoFi already has a few indexes following it, right? We're in the Russell 2000, these sort of things, but just the more that we have, the better. And the bigger names, right? MSCI is honestly not super big. It just adds another layer of validation. The S&P is really what you want. And we're not in any S&P index. We're not in small cap. We're not in mid cap. Obviously, we would have grown out of those already. So the first index that SoFi is about to get into will most likely be the S&P 500. If Kathy Wood buys SoFi, SoFi won't move a bit. If Buffett buys SoFi, it'll raise 10% tomorrow. I mean, yeah, it is true. But Kathy Wood is buying. It doesn't hurt, though. I mean, I'm happy for anyone to buy the stock. Are all banks with larger market caps than SoFi in the S&P 500? No. No. But there's a lot of banks that are larger than SoFi that have absolutely zero growth. What the S&P tries to do is not just buy the top 500 largest companies. They try to buy the top 500 biggest or best companies. So they don't have to be the biggest names that get in. They're not benchmarking the top 500 companies, or else AppLovin would already be there. That's what's so funny about companies like Williams-Sonoma getting in. It's because they brought in a $20 billion company, which what even is the market cap on Williams-Sonoma? I think they went up recently. Williams-Sonoma is a $24 billion company. It got in not last rebound, but 6 months ago. Okay. There were a lot bigger names to pick than Williams-Sonoma, but it fit into their mix and helped with their diversification. So they put them in. But a fast-growing bank would be something that no other company on the list can offer them. I think there's one other one, it's not Citizens, but there is another bank on the list. But yeah, they're definitely not as fun. Will SoFi have a correction? It definitely can. Okay, whenever a stock goes up straight over the last little bit, you always do worry that there's going to be some sort of correction. It's just I would not try personally with my money. You guys can do whatever you want. I would not try to time those things. Right? We had a bunch of people last week that tried to time a correction. They sold large amounts. I saw people say they sold out of their position. They sold out of half of their position. Everything like this at like $22. It's like that's how you miss out, So, but like I said, do what you guys feel is comfortable, and if you no longer feel like you are sleeping correctly because you're worried about your SoFi position because it's getting overweight and all of these things, it's probably best that you look to trim. Okay. So the best is portfolio health in general. You really have to make sure that you are doing okay with that position. For me, SoFi is going to make up for about 10% of my portfolio, which is a huge position for me. Okay. I think that's like the places at like third place. But, um, you know, I don't want to try to trim to take advantage of 26 whenever my real belief is that SoFi continues to climb over time. If my price target is 40, why would I assume that there's going to be fluctuations in the market between now and 40? I've done that before, and I get burnt selling my winners every time. You know, I'm all in on SoFi, and I sleep so good. Yeah, yeah. A lot of all-inners on SoFi. It's crazy, guys. Yeah, I constantly talk about how Nvidia is 50% of my portfolio. So I think it's actually a little bit less because other names have grown so much. But I've never sold a share of SoFi. It's just other names have gotten so freaking big, and I've made mistakes too, not accumulating enough in the $12, $13 ranges. Um, like there's definitely been mistakes, but it was a weird period back then. I wasn't even as bullish at 12, 13 as I was now. 10% still a huge part of my portfolio. I know that sounds silly, but um, like I wouldn't want it to go down. But for real, that's why I always say like the real needle mover for me is whenever Nvidia and Shopify move. You lied. Apparently, your YouTube is 100% SoFi. Well, I mean, you guys don't watch anything else, so I do talk about Nvidia and Google and all these other names, like what we're going to talk about. But my YouTube doesn't reflect my portfolio. You guys don't want to hear about Shopify at all. I try talking about it, and then I lose 100 viewers. So I try to do a mix of what I think is important for the markets, but then also what you guys want me to cover. I don't always say what you guys want me to say, but if there's topics that you want me to cover, if you guys want me to listen to what Trump has to say or what these other things have to say, then I will. But selfishly, I also follow for my own portfolio Canadian real estate. Do you guys want me to now start talking about Canadian real estate? Like, come on. Um, SoFi is and still will be the number one stock in my portfolio. I think that's great. I think that's great. I know you guys say Shopify, guys. You say it, and then like we did earnings. There could not be a bigger event for Shopify. No one showed up. No one. So I'm not buying Shopify here. No. So I have a lot of um I think I have a lot of things to add for Shopify or for SoFi. It's extremely misunderstood. There's not as much misunderstandings for Nvidia, and then whenever there was, it's all I was talking about. So, um, yeah, SoFi 31 by end of week. I wouldn't get so too excited. I honestly, there's a lot more people in here, so I'm just going to repeat myself a little bit. I would be very careful with the people who are drastically changing their price targets based on the momentum that we're seeing. Okay. After the quarter, whenever we saw new data, that was very exciting. The people who week over week, where nothing has been released from SoFi, have changed their price targets from $50 a share to $80 to $100 to even higher than that. What are we talking about? People are using other stocks to compare SoFi that have nothing to do with SoFi's business, that are extremely capital light, that like There are reasons for SoFi to be lower on certain aspects than other companies, and that's perfectly fine. Okay, it doesn't mean that it's not undervalued, but to put the exact same price to sales, price to earnings as other businesses as SoFi is just, it can be absolutely crazy sometimes. I don't know. We love Toby Lutke. You spelled his name wrong. Um, can you explain Galileo and what the back end actually means? So think of it like any store, right? Like if you think about Walmart or Costco or something, the front end of the business is what the consumer sees. The back end of the business is the employee only doors where everything is actually, where the logistics gets done. So Galileo, like many software as a service providers, is giving the software that actually allows the front end to be set up. Okay. If you go to create a website, you're going to need, some sort of domain host and admin that actually sets up and stores all that information very easily. Like Shopify, for example, will be able to tell you where your sales are coming from, hosts all that data for you, allows you to be able to sort those don't just come with the internet. You need some sort of company that takes all that data and puts it nicely in one place. Galileo is a great uh, service for fintechs to put all of that data for the back end into one place, especially for banks and fintechs. Whenever you're talking about zeros and ones, there can be no error. Okay, there has to be, like, at the end of every day and the start of every day, the numbers need to add up to make sure that what is left in someone's bank account is what it should be after all transactions. So there can be no flaw. So you need a core, you need a ledger, and you need payments for a lot of the different card programs and the partnerships that end up making those, and the banking providers that you need to be connected with. So Galileo can set that up. In my opinion, there's more upside in a misunderstood great business. 1000%. That's alpha. That's what alpha means. It's information that you have that others don't. And a lot of that can be misunderstandings. Crypto is crashing. Let's try to find a reason for this, but right now, ETH down 8.4%. However, zoom out a little bit. Not too terrible. But yeah, over the last little bit, definitely crashing. Let's go ahead and see what people are talking about for ETH. I'm not seeing anything right now. Could just be institutions. People take profits, What's actually funny is the only piece of news that I found for Ethereum is that someone just bought $2.5 billion worth of ETH and then staked it all. That's the only thing that I'm seeing. Someone just bought multiple people are reporting $2.5 billion worth of ETH being purchased. Bitmine has just said that their crypto and cash holdings, it now exceeds $8.8 billion. They're buying more ETH. Their ETH per share continues to climb, now 39.84. ETH became the fastest ever asset to reach $500 billion market cap, beating every other major company and Bitcoin. That also happened. 5.8 years to hit 500 billion. The second fastest was or sorry, the next fastest was ExxonMobil, actually, 7.9 years. Bitcoin took 12 years. That's crazy. Um, Somehow Bitmine has never moved the price. I mean, I know that's what he says, but you can't be buying billions and billions of dollars and not move the price at all. I mean, maybe it's not drastic, but there's definitely some movement there. What do you think about SoFi after rate cut? I'm not a big believer in uh like buy the rumor, sell the news type events. If SoFi, the rate cuts are a really good reason for SoFi to make more money. Okay. Well, it could get overextended in the short term because of those rumors. The news is very real. The news will accelerate home sale or like home loans. It will accelerate personal loans. It'll accelerate institutions going to buy those loans. All of that's very real. So what I care about really is SoFi's you know, overall like earnings going up, the fundamentals. And that will happen with a rate cut. So that's what I care about. What price would you recommend buying SoFi calls for new buyers? I'm not an options guy. I apologize. I'm not an options guy. I'm a pretty straightforward investor, honestly. I don't play into a lot of the hype. I hold companies way too long. Sometimes I buy them way too early, but hopefully we pick the right ones and then we make lots of money. Son, thank you, brother. $20. Where do you want me to put that $20 towards? We have a community fund. You got to tell me. Tell me where to put the 20. If you want it in SoFi, I'll do that. Let me know. Okay. Simple always wins. SoFi, deal. Deal. Easy. Yeah. Right now we have a 32.8% allocation towards SoFi in the community fund. Okay. So this is made up entirely of your guys' picks. And today we have to add to Joby. What were the other ones? Joby, Iren, and SoFi. Pretty interesting. Yeah, overall, I think that a lot of these picks were actually very good. But SBET's still down quite a lot. PayPal's down. Man, PayPal cannot catch a freaking break, eh? Let's go see that. Let's go see PayPal really quick. 69.48. Yeah. I think honestly, like I get confused sometimes. Like, at what point do you like? I don't know. The fundamentals look good, but the sentiment on payments could be a very long-term headwind for them. Very long-term. And that is worrisome. Right? I even wonder if, you know, whenever I'm talking about a payments name, if Shift 4 is not just the better buy, because I feel like fundamentally they are doing better. They are growing much faster. They've got the buybacks, they've got the free cash flow margin. You know, they're also doing very well, but you also get a little bit more growth. And they're cheap. Sorry, that's the main reason as well. They're cheap like PayPal. Very, very cheap. Also very, not well known. Might allow them to join some indexes and stuff. I don't think PayPal's getting into any new indexes these days. But yeah. Who does know, ladies and gentlemen? Who does know? Let's take a look at some other names. I mean, Google the other day we spoke about very recently. They just hit an all-time high today. I've been very bullish on this one lately. And the exciting part about Google is their cloud deals with Meta are doing very or are getting people excited. We're still doing very well on the Waymo side. Google search is doing well. They could potentially be getting into deals with Apple for Gemini to end up taking over the next grade of Siri. That could be very cool. They have quantum bets that are out right now. They have humanoid bets through Aptronic. They've got a lot of very interesting bets that are getting people excited. All while it's still one of the cheapest names in the Mag 7. Seriously. Like I don't think people realize even at an all-time high how cheap they really are. They are cheap. If you look at the Mag 7s here, and we hide that, and then we look at PE really quick. Shout out to Fiscal AI, the only partner that I need for the entire channel. But if we go ahead and take a look at, we can even, no, I mean, we don't need to look any further. Tesla on a PE basis, very expensive, but people are looking more towards the future. So let's just hide PE and look at forward PE. Might be a little bit more accurate. Wall Street is assuming great growth, but we're going to have to hide Tesla in order to see the differentiation at the bottom here. So let's go ahead and hide Tesla. And we can see, I'll even zoom in even closer here. Google, although its PE ratio has, or forward PE has risen quite a bit because the stock is actually appreciated, you still see the massive gap between Meta at 26.6 times and Google at 21 times price to forward earnings. Okay. And this is the same, by the way, they've been crushing earnings as well. So I don't necessarily even believe them for those targets. But Google's PE 22.2 times, Meta's 27.3 times. They're cheap, It's quite interesting. They're spending a ton on, where's Google here? Yeah, an increasing amount per share on CapEx. And it'll actually make a lot more sense if you zoom out. Yeah, an increasing amount in CapEx, 23 cents, sorry. And the only ones that are like really beating that is Meta. So although Meta and Google are some of the cheapest names from a forward PE basis or PE basis in general, price to earnings, they are spending the most on the future right now. It's quite interesting. Still, my baby Nvidia, in my opinion, still very, very cheap. Fiscal AI. Thoughts on Chris Camillo's short? I didn't read his reasoning for short. I did hear that he said that they were showing off some growth through like their AI APIs, stuff that are like if a company is going to Google to scrape their things like through MPC servers, and then that counts as a Google search or query or something like that. And that's why it's bearish. But I don't even look at it that way. I'm just looking at it through revenue and profit. So regardless, they're going to be making more money over time. He's completely discounting cloud, which I think is, a multi-hundred billion plus dollar solution for them. Gemini's a, massively important company. Waymo's massively important. People are putting zeros on some of these, products that Google has a part of its parent company. Chris Camillo already closed his short after the Meta cloud news. I mean, that makes sense. And he's a quick investor. So, Chris accusing them of cooking books with numbers borrowed from ChatGPT numbers. I'm not going to bet that. One, I have nothing bad to say about Chris Camillo. The dude's a genius. I have zero bad to say. But we don't have to align with every single purchase. You know? Some news channel was doing a breakdown of the underlying assets of Google. The top 5 holdings are over 3.5 trillion in standalone value. Well, I mean, yeah. What are the assumptions on that? I saw today Shea Ballure, who I also have a lot of respect for, posted this thing that I was just like, man, this does not line up with the quality that you usually post here on this account. And I'm not trying to throw shade at Shea here, but he says, oh, peg ratios for the big tech names. And then I see Palantir in the middle at 1.6 times, a lower peg than Amazon. I was like, brother, where are you getting these numbers? So then he goes, oh, well, it's trading at 214 times earnings while it's growing at a gap earnings of 130%. No, it's not. What are you talking about? Either you okay, he's assuming no dilution. EPS for 2025 is expected at 58%, and 2026 is at 31.5%. Even if you literally double it, 58 goes to 116%, or 31 goes to 63. There's no way that that's the peg that you think that it should be at. And of course, he left me on read because he has no. But this is the problem, right? If you're doing a peg ratio, you either dilute everything or you dilute nothing. Okay, so you either look at the total earnings versus the total market cap, or you look at the what's it called? Price per share and then earnings per share. He did price per share and then looks at total earnings. What are we doing? So that if that's the way that he did that, I'm going to assume that he ended up doing that for all of these names. So I think it actually invalidates every single name here. And I've also seen peg ratios for Nvidia, and I'm like, man, even that looks a little bullish. Like we should be over 1 just slightly, but still, he's not including any dilution here. And I think the entire chart is probably wrong. Meta's peg is closer to like 3, 4, 6x, depending on what you have for assumptions. Obviously, I would assume that Wall Street's 2026 guide of 31.5% is low. I understand that. But how low is it? Is it 80%? That's still not 130. So just be careful with whenever someone says, hey, I've done a breakdown and it's 3.5 billion on Google. It's like, okay, but I'm not like some god or anything like this, but like I make constant mistakes and people, catch me on those. And I'm like, okay, yeah, you know what? That makes it look less bullish because I forgot this one aspect and it happens. But like people can just say whatever they want. And so whenever people go, oh, this company has a price to sales ratio of X, so SoFi should have a price to sales ratio of X. Nope, it shouldn't, because they're not even remotely comparable. But yeah. Okay. Let's see here. Oh no, did Riley? No, dude. Do you guys remember the SoFi Weekly, the original crew? So I'll give you a little bit of background. Roy was not a part of the SoFi Weekly. We didn't even know him back then. There was a guy named Riley Smelly who put the entire thing together. He was actually the original creator of the SoFi Weekly. And he was such a SoFi bull and everything. But he was the one that ended up reaching out to Amit, myself, and Tevis, who we did not know at the time. We didn't know Tevis at the time, and said, hey, we should all come together and make a weekly show about this company that we all love. And we did. It was great. But now I can see someone has found his account and shown that he's been actively selling SoFi a long time ago on the SoFi social account, and he's been selling. It's all right, Riley. It happens. He was an OG. He really was. Someone found an old video from me back in like November of 2021 talking about why I love SoFi so much. And it's just, yeah, Crossroads replaced Riley. Well, Crossroads kind of replaced Amit. I think Steve replaced Riley. Now it's just the three of us. Yeah, it used to be a team of four. But hey, you know what? There were some dark times back then. I get it. It's hard to hold. It's hard to hold through. Why is crypto dumping? Not quite sure. I mean, it's probably just a regular rotation. It happens from time to time. Oh, we have something here. Let's take a look. Little news from Robinhood. Oh, actually, this is that won't show us audio. Actually, I can't play the audio anyway because of the music. Robinhood Summit 2025 enter the mainframe. Keynote speakers. Let's see here. Vlad Tenev, Stephen Quirk, Abhishek, Gina, Swaron. Okay, wait. Swaroon. I don't know what Gina and Swaroon do for Robinhood. Vlad's obviously the CEO. Stephen Quirk's the chief brokerage officer, and Abhishek's chief product officer. Which these are some gents, by the way. I've met Abhishek a couple of times. He's one of the greatest dudes you can meet. But if I don't remember correctly, Swaroon was a part of the banking announcement. I'll have to check what they do for the company, but we'll have to check Robinhood Presents because there's probably other speakers. VP of Product Management. Sorry, that's what they do. And Senior Director of Product Management is Gina, and Product Manager for Robinhood is Swaroon. But do they have other speakers or other things that are going on in that event? I'm sure they did because they had like so many different speakers that ended up coming on. Like even Circle, like Jeremy, whatever his name is, the CEO of Circle was on. So that would be quite interesting. But all right. Hey, Tan the man, would you boy coin? I don't think so. I don't know what boy coin is, but I don't think so. Okay. Let's see. Ethereum is down a ton. Solana is down. I'm sure that spells bad news for Bitcoin. Bitcoin down 3.3%. They're definitely very resilient. It's a store of wealth after all. Store of value. Yeah, I mean the biggest bleeders today, Open Door, after seeing quite an unbelievable green day yesterday, up like 39%. Well, sorry, last trading day, Friday, is now down 9% today. SoFi surprisingly ended up taking all the bullishness from yesterday and still riding it into today. Absolutely incredible. It's just so freaking positive. It's insane. So congratulations, ladies and gentlemen. Hi. I think he means Bitcoin. I think he means Bitcoin as well, but I don't even know what that means. Oh, like Coinbase? Oh, we were talking about Bitcoin. No, I don't own Coinbase. If that's what the question is, I probably could have put those two together. It's pretty dumb of me. Did I Boycoin? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's get back into the news. We have some Nvidia stuff that I want to talk about because I know Nvidia didn't catch the greenest day it possibly could today, but it did still do okay, up 1%. We were up a lot more than that intraday, but we have a lot of news to talk about. First off, the developments in artificial intelligence are taking new, or like we're seeing new highs here. Unbelievably. First off, OpenAI in the United Kingdom have reported discussions of a multi-billion-pound deal to give the entire country premium access to ChatGPT. How crazy is that? Bro, forget selling like software to schools, to businesses, to individual people. They're selling it to countries. That is insane. Multi-billion-pound deal. What they're going to have to change the amount of compute that they have to end up deploying, which means more chips from Nvidia, which means more server racks, which means more energy, which means just a lot more spend in artificial intelligence adjacent businesses worldwide. Speaking of which, like, look at this. This is just crazy. Regulators approve Entergy's multi-billion-dollar plan for 3 major power plants to supply Meta's hyperscale data centers. Like, it's just insane. 3 major power plants to support a large data centers. The world is changing around us, and if you're not following the news on a daily basis, you're going to think that this is fiction. That was an approval. Okay? Like we talked about earlier, but it just goes back to the exact same thing. Actually, in fact, I'm going to show you guys a video, but Nvidia just launched its Jetson Thor robotics computers built for physical AI in industries like logistics, healthcare, and manufacturing. The new system delivers 7.5x the AI compute of Jetson's Orion at 3.5x better efficiency, powered by Blackwell GPUs. Early adopters include Amazon Robotics, Boston Dynamics, Caterpillar, Meta, and Figure. The name that stands out to me is Meta in that list, by the way. I thought that was quite interesting. Maybe we end up seeing Meta. Man, Meta might be the name to buy. I mean, we might have to do a deep dive on Meta like tomorrow. Okay, let's get that video up though, because it was quite an interesting one. This is the great and powerful Jensen Huang talking about Thor.
that our next generation processor for the car, our next generation computer for the car is called Thor. I have one right here. Hang on a second. Okay, this is Thor. This is Thor. This is a robotics computer. This is a robotics computer. It takes sensors and just a madness amount of sensor information, process it, umpteen cameras, high resolution, radars, lidars, they're all coming into this chip. And this chip has to process all that sensor, turn them into tokens, put them into a transformer, and predict the next path. And this AV computer is now in full production. Thor is 20 times the processing capability of our last generation Orin, which is really the standard of autonomous vehicles today. And so this is just really quite incredible. Thor is in full production. This robotics processor, by the way, also goes into a full robot. And so it could be an AMR, it could be a humanoid robot, it could be the brain, it could be the manipulator. This processor basically is a universal robotics computer.
How insane is that? How absolutely insane is that? The previous chip was essentially the standard for self-driving. And now they're doing one that is much more efficient, much smarter, much faster. But that's the silicon space. Whenever you start looking at chips, is that the step ups are unbelievably huge. They're not small increments. They're multiples of higher efficiency. That's for self-driving. That's for all physical AI. That's robots. That'll be drones one day. The drones part is something that no one really actively talks about, but I think that it'll be very important. Nvidia is a double from here. It depends on the timeline, but I do think that we will see a double from here because the earnings will end up more than doubling from here. That's the important caveat, right? Is that you need the earnings growth in order for Nvidia to keep climbing. At 4.4 trillion, it cannot just be a story stock. In fact, it's quite reasonably priced right now. Actually, pretty underheld versus where it sits in the weighting of the S&P versus how much institutions are actually holding it versus the rest of the companies, which I also think is quite interesting. But yeah. So pre-orders just opened for the Jetson Thor Blackwell edition, which is very awesome. Let's continue on with this AI trend for Nvidia. Saudi Arabia's new artificial company, Humane, has officially broken ground on its first data centers in the kingdom and has plans to have them up and running in early 2026 with the use of semiconductors imported from the United States, meaning Nvidia and some deals, some smaller ones with AMD as well. But I think they're doing 190 megawatts to start, and then they want to get up to 5 gigawatts eventually. I think they said by 2029 or something like that. Going off the top of my head. But that's just a completely new country and customer that Nvidia is selling to in this year that they have not in any of the previous years. Okay. Is Riley okay? I hope he never sold SoFi. I don't think you're caught up on the stream. He definitely did. But he is okay. Yeah, I think he's doing fine. Am I buying Google? I mean, in the last 5 days, I've been purchasing Google and these sort of names. I have not purchased anything today, if that's what you guys mean. Nothing as of today. But yeah, I want more Google. I want more Amazon. And if all goes right, I mean, I might even just take stock in Meta, especially with the signs that they're going to be getting into humanoids. they could be a player that you would not want to be betting against. And I think that that's the same sort of thing that people are betting on with, yeah, this is crazy. If you think about it, Tesla is going after every future project and getting such a multiple for it. And yet Meta, which has a better business to fund their future growth aspects, is going after the most futuristic and bullish aspirations, which maybe is a humanoid robot as well, is getting absolutely zero multiple for it. Zero. They're hiring the best tech. I wonder if that is also on their roadmap. We might have to start looking into Meta, and that could be a significant position for me. Yeah, maybe it was just one chip. It was just for Zuck. They just updated his chip. But then even that's still bullish because then the CEO is going to have a brain that's 7.5 times smarter than the chip that he had before. So, I still think that that's worth buying Meta if you think that is the CEO is an actual robot. Kidding, of course, but still. What are your thoughts on Pagaya? I don't know Pagaya very well. I only know them for their position, like for what they do for SoFi. He looks more human now. Yeah, yeah. But that's part of the AI, right? The AI has identified him as looking too weird. I'm kidding, of course. I'm not 95% kidding. 5% of me might think that he's an LLM. As the LLMs have gotten smarter, somehow he's gotten smarter. I kid. But could Meta start catching a bid if they really start to show off that, like, I don't know. I get so scared with that name because they have such a massive percentage of the population. And whenever that slows down, I do think that hits or that changes the multiple that people put on the stock. But then in the same breath, like, Apple catches a bigger bid, and I wouldn't necessarily say that they're multiplying their TAM too often. Like it's mainly selling more products and services to their existing market, which Meta can do through, the Quest, which they're already doing through Meta glasses, the Ray-Bans and Oakleys and stuff like that. And then getting into their Orion project, which is going to bring on, if they end up solving that, and that they can make like real holographic glasses that are still like have regular pass through, then they'll do well. Regarding robotics, my choice is Amazon. I think that that's an amazing pick. I think that's perfect. But hey Tanner, nice price action on SoFi. Thank you. Congratulations to you as well if you hold it. But ladies and gentlemen, aside from Nvidia on Wednesday, the real earnings that we're going to have to pay attention to over the next little bit is Okta tomorrow, MongoDB. I don't really care about Box at all. Or Canadian banks are tomorrow as well. I don't really care about that. But Nvidia, CrowdStrike, Snow, HP, Viva Systems, all of these ones are on Wednesday. I'll be live for Nvidia along with Amit and Jose, most likely. Then the next day we have, Dell, Marvell, Sentinel One, Affirm, Weeble. That'll be another very busy day. Alibaba after that. Next week after that, we have, Neo, Salesforce, Zscaler. Salesforce will probably be live for. I'm sure I'll stream that. Broadcom, Lululemon, DocuSign, UiPath, those will be exciting as well. Yeah. Yeah, it is coming up to we're rounding out the earnings for the season. We really only have a few big names for the rest of the season, and then everything gets wrapped up. And then we just do it all over again, ladies and gentlemen. You know? It's fun. We get to do it all. It's about 6 weeks of busyness and then 6 weeks of chill. And then starts all back up again. And then we go through this again. We see if the markets are able to pull out more earnings from the advancements in technology, the ability for humans to solve more problems and find new customers and sell their products. And usually humans, especially in American markets, are able to do that. So continue to be bullish is my sort of opinion. Continue to underwrite the individual stocks that you're betting on. You could buy the indexes. I just think that I'm able to find the names that are outperforming those indexes just because I stick to technology, and technology is working faster than 90% of the other industries in the market. So why not pick the industry that's selling to all other industries? And AI just only furthers that. I don't think it's that hard to beat the market. Pick something that is going to continue to advance. And if you want the next version of the internet, well, how do you know that AI is working? Well, you look at every single all the smartest minds in the entire world is telling you it's the next big thing. I don't think you need to look much further than that. There might be individual names that are overpriced, but Google isn't, Meta isn't, Amazon isn't. Nvidia, if you don't believe that they're going to continue to grow into the future, can look expensive, and I understand that, but you don't need Nvidia specifically. You can buy a lot of other names that are still going to outperform and do very well, like we have with SoFi. I mean, come on. Yeah. We can hope. Hopefully some rate cuts. Yeah, hopefully. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for watching. This has been fun. We saw the highest close that we've ever seen for SoFi, 26.20 or something like this. And we continue to go forward. Subscribe down below. Bye for now.